Okay, in last session we have seen what is dimension, what is fact table, and how to identify dimension table and how to identify fact table, and star schema and snowflake schema. There are a few other schemas like galaxy schemas or star flake schemas, which are not of high importance, and you may not get a question about these schemas in interviews, and you may not be using it in your projects too. But star schema is nothing but the hybrid of, sorry, star flake schema is nothing but the hybrid of star and snowflake schema. Okay, so it's a more like you'll have two to three fact tables and few dimension. One fact will have a direct relationship to most of the dimensions, and that will form a star, and another one will have indirect relationships that will form a snowflake, and both will merge and will be called as a star flake schema. It's a hybrid of both. And the other one is galaxy or something like that, and which means you will have tables which are not related also to any of the fact tables, and you'll have indirect relationships. So if the schema is not fit in any of the three schemas like star, snowflake, and starflake, then you can call it as galaxy schema too. Now let's see about the different options that we have at the data source view level. Yesterday, when we start discussing about the data source view level, I said we can do a lot in the data source view level. Let's see one by one. You can see the options here on the top. You can see add table, add or remove object, or refresh data source view, or new diagram, or new name query, and so on. And you'll find the similar options on right click menu, and you will find some set of options on table menu, and you will find some set of options on column menu, column right click menu. And let's see, let's start with the right click menu where you will have a lot of options related to the data source view. The first and foremost one, new name query, very important one. People will be asking about this, or they'll be asking a question indirectly about this name queries. Let's say a scenario like this. You have 100 tables in your data warehouse, the underlying data warehouse, that is relational database, and you need a new table, but you don't have access to create a table or create a view in your data source, okay, in your relational database. So then what you're going to do? The option is name query. So name query is nothing but a view in the data source view. Normally, I hope you know what is view in the database. View is nothing but a virtual table on top of a physical table, right? Or physical tables. So that is database concepts, relational database concepts. In analysis services, particularly in data source view, if you want to create a view kind of thing, then you have to use new name query. Okay. Let's see. I'll show you by creating a name query, and you can easily understand once I create name queries. Before going to that, let me show you this option because I have a lot of junk tables on my data source view. Let me remove few. So if you see the option add or remove tables, once you select that, it will show all the included objects. Have you seen this page before? I hope you have seen this page, right? Um, like all, I mean, when you start creating the data source view, you have seen this available objects on the left hand side and included objects on the right hand side. Now if you want, using this option, you can either add or remove in the sense already added data, added tables or objects to the data source view can be removed, or you can add a new one which has not been added. Let me show you how to do that, just like how you have done in your while creating the data source view, new data source view. So let's say I don't want any of these tables. I can remove it. If I click on OK, everything will be gone. And again, if I click on add or remove tables, it will show all the tables on the left hand side, tables and views. And you can select whatever you want. Let me go and filter it. Fact internet sales. And let me add it, add related tables. For now, let me take out this reason and click on OK. Now, this is how you can add and remove the tables. Okay. And here, if you see, you can add table from multiple data sources. Let's say you have a different data source here. Here, this is AdventureWorks DW1, which is pointing to, let's assume, a different database. If you select that, it will display all the tables that are present in that one. And you can see DBO, and this is the data source name, just for our reference. Because the table will be available in both the data sources, right? You have created two data sources here, and this one have the table name XYZ and this one have the table name XYZ. This is the primary, so it will not have any data source name at the end. It won't concatenate the data source name, but this is the secondary data source, which is not primary to this particular data source view, because this is, while creating the data source view, we have selected the reference of AdventureWorks DW as the data source. Now let me select employee. It will add the employee, and you can add the tables from different data sources. So this is how you can add tables from multiple data sources too. For now, let's not concentrate on that. Let's understand only until adding and removing the tables or objects. And once it is done, let's see what is new name acquiring. So let's say I want to create a table. For example, let's say the product table. This is pretty big table. I don't want all these columns. I just need product key, even I don't need product alternate key for my analysis. I just need product key to connect to the fact tables, and product subcategory key to connect to the another dimension tables, subcategory table. And I may need English product name. Why I need Spanish product name and French product name if I am designing a project for English audience or English users, so the people who are good in English and who don't know Spanish and French. So I can remove these two, right? In the same way, I don't need this finished goods flag as per my requirements. Let's assume the requirement does not say anything about finished goods flag, and I may need color. So if you see, I just need 3 to 4 columns, but if you see, there are a lot of columns. Okay, so if you want to limit the number of columns, or if you want to join 2 to 3 tables, let me show you that example. That is better one. Let's say I'm adding 2 more tables. One is dim product already there, so I'm gonna go with product category and product subcategory. I'm adding it. Now if you see, where is my product? Okay, it is here. So the product is related to fact internet sales, and this is related to product, and this is related to dim product subcategory. So these two are not directly related to my fact internet sales, that is my fact table. What schema it is now? So this is Snowflake, because these two dimension tables, this is a dimension table and this is a dimension table. You can find out by seeing the primary key, textual information, and it is master table. So these two are dimension tables too. So these two dimension tables are not directly related to your fact internet sales table, and hence it is Snowflake schema. So if you have 1 or 2 tables like this, deviation of 1 or 2 tables, then what you can do is you can merge these 3 into one table. Then what it will become? It will become a star schema. So let's see how to do that. So I can achieve it by using the named query here, or I can create a view in the database. If I create a view by joining these 3 tables in the database, I can refer to that view. That will become star schema. Or I can, if I don't have a permission to create view or modify the structure of the data, the data structure of the database, then I don't have any other option apart from using the named query. So how to create a named query? Let me name this as product details, which talks about the complete product details. And let me add the tables, or you can directly write the select statement if you are good in select statements, or the transact SQL, or whatever the PLSQL, whatever the database you're connecting to in your data source. Let me add the tables. One is dim product and category and subcategory. Okay, now from product I need product, from product subcategory I need subcategory, and I need category. These are the keys which are very important for any analysis, and there is a relationship set between these 3 tables, right? So the same relationship will be taken when you add tables from here. Now what are all the columns that I need for my analysis? I need English product name, and color from here, and English product subcategory name and English product category name. If I execute it, it is returning data and it is perfect. 397 rows written, and let me click on OK. Now if you see, the icon is little different than this one. This is table, this is named query, where you have a two table, one overlapping on the other one. Okay, so the named query is created with the name product details, which fetches the data from three different tables by joining them, and it limits the columns. So I'm not pulling all the columns. This dim product has 25 columns, dim subcategory has 7 columns, the other one has 7 columns, but here in total I'm pulling only the required columns, that is only 7 or 8 for my analysis. And now I created this. What is the next step? This is my dimension table. I need to have a primary key. How to set the key? There is an option called set logical primary key. Whatever the column you feel will act as the primary key for the named query that you have created, or which provides uniqueness to each and every row in the named query that you have created, then you just select that as primary key, right click and set logical primary key. This is how you can set the primary key, and the named query that you have created will not have any impact in the underlying database. It will not be created in your underlying database, and the primary key will not be set in the underlying database. It's just only limited to the data source view. The database will remain the same. The underlying database will remain the same. Now the next step, giving the relationship. For now, let me give the relationship straight away, and I will explain about the relationships after some time. So product to product, I've set the relationship. Now I don't need it anymore, right? I don't need these things because the columns that are required for my analysis from these three tables, I bought it into one named query. So I can go to add or remove tables. Let me take out that product category, subcategory, done. Now what is the schema? Now the schema has become star. Now if you have a very limited tables like this, limited dimension tables which are not directly related, then it's fair, you can make it as a star schema, but not when it is very complex design. Okay, now let's come back to our major discussion here, that is named query. Named query is nothing but a view in the data source view. Okay, view nothing but it's a virtual one. This named query, this table will not be created in your underlying database. It's just virtual, and it will send this query to the database and it will query the data, whatever the query that I have used in the named query. And the next question will be what all I can give in the named query here. Is it only tables, or is it any particular stuff which is allowed here? The answer is you can add anything which is valid select statement or which returns data. Let's say select get date. This is a valid select, right? Valid SQL stuff. So if I click on OK, named query will be created with the column expression1. The expression1 is nothing but the column that I have selected, that is get date, or you can name it as current date. And if you see, I have not selected any table here. What is that? Ignore. Okay. I did something wrong here. 1 second. Select get date as might be. Okay. So if you see the current date, the column name is current date, and this is a named query. So any valid select statement can be used in the named query. So where we use this named queries? We use this named queries in cases like where you don't have access to the database to make changes, like to create views. In that case, let's say you have a lot of columns here, but you need only 2 to 3 for your analysis. What you can do, take out this table and create a named query instead. Or if you want to create a table with hard-coded values, let me show you how to create a table with hard-coded values. I'll give the name as hard select one as success, one as key, comma, success as name. Delete, and I don't know whether I can use union here. No union will be allowed here. That is not a valid statement. If you see, oops, something wrong. 1 second, guys. Select one as key, comma, as name. The query can, okay, from team product. 1 second, guys. Something like this. The name and the key is given, and let me give it as 2 and failure. So if you want some tables, hard-coded tables like this, so and you don't have access to create it in your database, so what you can do is you just create a name query, and if you see the data in this one, it will show the data that you have given, like hard-coded values: 1 success, 2 failure, and you may need it in your analysis service pack. And if you talk about the performance, views are better than name queries, and views people prefer unless and until they don't have access to create a new view in the database. They will go with name queries only when they don't have access to the access to create the views in the database. Views are better, and in my experience, I worked with the database where one dimension processing, which was built on top of a namer query, was taking 30 minutes to process. One single dimension, 30 minutes to process because of the data and the namer query we have given. And then we moved the namer query to view in the database, and we created indexing and all. Then it was like flash, like less than 2 to 3 minutes. It was super fast. So people prefer view, but the only case is like when they don't have. And another thing is like there will be a lot of small tables which you need to create for your analysis service part, like something like the success and failure. You may need it. You want to tag it with some other switch column. So in that case, you will go with namer queries. And if you want to limit the number of columns, like only 2 columns, 3 columns from a table, then you can't delete the column here in the table because this is the structure that has been pulled from the database. You can't delete it here. So what you can do is you can create a namer query in this case. And I showed you one more example, right, where the snowflake is converted to star by joining the 3 tables: dim product subcategory, and dim product category. So that is one classic case where you'll be using namer queries if you don't have access to create a similar view in the database. Let me highlight one point here. This named query is very important question. Okay, so try to understand it. And the next option, add or remove tables, which we have seen, just to add or remove tables. And we'll be doing it very frequently throughout the sessions. And the third one is new name relationship. This is mainly useful when the relationship is not properly defined in the underlying database. Few database developers, they don't give relationship. Let's say the relationship, if they don't have relationship in the database, then it looks like this. But you know what is the common column between the fact internet sales and the dim customer. So that is the customer key, and you can easily create a relationship by using the new relationship option. So the same option you can see here by right clicking on the empty space on the data source view, or by right clicking on the table column, or by right clicking on the table. So 3 places, the same option. What is the use? There is nothing much difference. If you select here, then both the columns and both the source table, destination table, source column, destination column, you have to select on your own. Or if you right click on the table and select the new relationship, the source table will be set to the table on which you right clicked and selected the new relationship. And the last thing is like when you right click and select the new relationship on a column, then it will do a little job for you. Like it will select the source table and it will select the source column. The only thing that you need to do is to select the destination column and table. And if you click on OK, the relationship will be set. Okay, so this is about relationship. If the foreign key, I mean, if the relationship is not set between two tables in the data warehouse, and you need relationship for those two in your analysis service part, and you know these there are two common columns between these two tables, then you can create the relationship here. Let's assume you create a new relationship between these two. For example, let's say I don't have this, and I can create product to customer also, because both are key columns. Both are integer columns. Customer is having integer value and product is having integer value. So you can create a relationship. It may fail, that's a secondary when you process it. But while giving the relationship, it will check only whether the data types are same or not. If the data types are same, data type of this column and data type of the column that you're trying to give reference relationship, then it will accept the relationship. And one more important point here is, if you give any relationship or if you modify anything at the data source view level, it will not have impact in the underlying database. So the underlying database will remain the same. This is only up to this data source view level. Nothing will be changed in the underlying data source. So that is one advantage. You can play with the data source view. You can do whatever you want, and you can try, you can practice, you can try different things here. So I showed you three different ways of giving relationships, right? But I prefer the fourth way. The fourth way is selecting the column, selecting the column here and dropping on the column on the destination, on the target. So this is the way I prefer to give the relationship. So that is about the relationships in the data source view. And the next is show friendly names. Yesterday we have seen something about the friendly names, right? So every table, you can give one friendly name. You can see the property when you right click and go to the properties. You can this window will open. Here you can see the friendly name. This is the actual name, which you cannot edit, and this is the friendly name. I can make it as customer, and this has only name, no friendly name, because this is a name query and the query definition. And this is a table. I can have friendly name for this instead of dim product. Why we need to show as dim promotion when we can show it as promotion, which looks better, right? And for dim sales territory, I can have sales territory, or even you can use space. And fact internet sales, instead of that I can simply call as sales or internet sales to be more specific. And what else we have? Okay, dim date. So I can give it as date and currency as currency. So when you select this, when you have this option, okay, show friendly names is checked here. So that means you're asking the server to show the friendly names instead of the actual name. If you uncheck this, then it will show the actual name. So this is the actual name, dim currency, dim date, fact internet sales. If you want to see the friendly name, some tables will be pretty big in size, and you want to give better names so that you can easily understand it. In that case, you can check the friendly names and you can use this. Okay, so this is one option that you can use to get a good, better understandable look and feel and option to the users, sorry, to the developers. I missed one thing, whether we can relate a table to a named query or a view. That is a question. Let's say this is a named query, and I've given relationship from here to this one. Just the only thing it will look for is it will check for all the objects, and if you try to relate between two tables and two columns in the two tables, then it will check only for the data type. Similarly, if you have view, okay, if you have a view, you can directly give the relationship between the existing table and the view. So that is also possible. Let's go back to the options. Select all is nothing but selecting all the tables. If you want to delete everything or move everything, if you want to select all this stuff, then you have to go for this select all. And find table is more like searching of the tables. This is not the best case because we have only 7 tables. We don't need this option to search, but the case where you have 100+ tables and you need to search for it, then you can use this. Like you can type date and it will show only the dates, or if you type dim, it will show nothing because you are going with the friendly names, right? So there is nothing with the dim. Let's say product, it will show all the things that starts with product. Okay, it's more like search. And arrange tables, this I have used a lot of times today, but I don't know whether you observe it or not. Arrange tables, however you have these tables, if you select the arrange tables, it will arrange in the best possible, best good looking way. You can see this is a star schema, so it's created the star schema, and these two tables have no relationship. That's why these are kept aside. And this is one table I can use to show how to give relationship. Let's say let me drag the product key and let me place it on the key. So then there is no primary key defined on it, so it will ask for it. There is no, the destination table of the newly created relationship has no primary key field. Would you like to define a logical primary key based on the columns used in the relationship? Normally the relationship will be set between the primary key and the foreign key, right? It is giving us a hint. Like, do you want to create? If I click on yes, it will create the primary key and the relationship will be set. The same is the case with the view. If you have a view and if there is no key, you can drag and drop and you can create it and you can set the relationship between those two. For now, let me take out this and let me arrange it again. It will arrange in the best possible look and feel. The next one is diagonal layout and rectangle layout. Now it's showing switch to diagonal layout. If I click on diagonal layout, it will show the structure of the tables in diagonal layout. And now it is diagonal layout, right? So it will show like whether you want to switch to rectangle layout, either that or this. If I select this, it will show me in the rectangle layout. It's just a layout, how you want to see the tables. And refresh. Refresh is a very important property if you make any changes to the underlying data source. So if you click on refresh, I'll tell you what it will do. Okay, let's say this is your data source and you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 tables, and this is your data source view. You have 5 tables and this is your database from where you have this schema. You have let's say 100 tables here. Okay, among that 100 I have selected only 5 tables into my data source view. Here if I click on refresh, what it will do is it will pick these 5 objects and it will take it to the database and it will check those 5 objects whether there is any changes happen to the structure of these objects. Okay, let's say these 5 tables, the same structure is there, but one table has one extra column added. Then it will come back and say there is a column added to this particular table. Do you want to apply the change into your data source view or not? If you say yes, go ahead, it will add it, or else you can cancel it. Okay, if there are changes for every table, then all the changes will be brought to the data source view and you can apply those changes that has been made in the database. But remember, you should not do that very frequently because the database people will be adding columns, removing columns, and they'll be doing some work on the database side, and your development should not get impacted. So if you define set of tables and if you add the tables that are required for your analysis and you have all the columns that are required for your analysis, before applying the changes, better contact the DB team why they have added that and whether you need it or not. If you don't need it, just don't add it. That's what my suggestion is. Now let me show an example here how the refresh works. Let's say there is a relationship between these two in the database. That's why it is showing here. Let me delete it now. And let me delete this relationship. I'm just showing a couple of examples here. If I click on refresh, it will take these tables and it will take there and it will check and it will compare. Okay, dim currency, it has a relationship added in the database which is not available in the data source view. That means dim currency, this relationship is there in the database but not here. And the second thing is dim sales territory. This has relationship but it is not here. And the third thing is fact internet sales. This has relationship in the database but not here. You want to apply, or cancel. If you click on apply, all the changes will be applied. So this is one example, like relationships. If you add new relationships after you create the data source view, let's say the database team added relationships, then you can add um, you can bring those changes into the data source view just with one click, that is refresh. Now let me show you another example. For that I need to connect to SQL Server to make some changes to the existing table, okay? Existing tables that are used in the data source view. So I opened SSMS and I connected to AdventureWorks GW 2014. Let's take any one table. Which table is better? Let me take select star from dim date. I think this is the table name. Okay, perfect. Can anyone tell me the syntax for adding a new column? Alter table dim date. I've never used SQL in last 2 to 3 years. That's why I'm asking you. Add column or add test varchar of 100 or 200. I think this is the syntax. Let me try. Okay, perfect. So I added one column to the dim date, and if I execute it, you can see a test column is added and null value is there. And let me do the same for dim customer. Is it dim customer? I don't remember the table name. Let me see that quickly, whether there is a table with the dim customer. Yeah, this is perfect. So now if you see, I have taken two tables which are part of my data source view, and I have added one column with the name test to both the tables. So here, this is one of the interview question, most important interview question. You can make 3 stars before this interview question. You will face this interview question for sure if the interviewer has knowledge on analysis services. So if you right click and if you click on refresh, and it will show you what are the changes that has been done on the analysis server, so on the underlying database. Here you can see the dim customer table, a column is added, the change is added, and for the dim date a column is added. Click on OK, you'll get that. And now let me go back. I think it's drop column. I'm dropping one column from dim customer, and let me go on refresh, and you can see this is deleted. If I apply this, that will be applied. But while applying, you have to be very careful. There will be lots of changes happening in the database level if the database team is working on the underlying data warehouse. So make sure that your changes are there and you need that, then only you just apply it. The problem here is, I'll tell you the problem, okay? Let's say I have dropped one more column, that is which I have added a couple of minutes back, that is dim date test column. I dropped it, and I'm adding column to dim customer. Now if I click on refresh, there are two changes. One is addition of column and another one is deletion of column. I just want to bring this one to my structure, my data source view, but if I don't want to bring this, there is no such option. You just have to take both, either apply both or apply nothing. If you click on cancel, nothing will be applied. If you click on OK, both will be applied. Okay, keep in mind. So be careful when you are clicking on refresh. People will ask question like this: what is the use of refresh in analysis services, or how you can get the structural changes that happen on the underlying database to your data source view. So this is how you may get questions from the refresh option in the data source view. Let's see the next option, zoom. This is one useful if you think, or useless if you think. It's your wish. If you want to zoom it to 100%, it will be big, or if you want to fit it to the window, it will fit to the window. How many tables you add, that doesn't matter. Let's say let me add everything, and still it will fit to the window if you select the option zoom fit to window, but you can't understand what table is what. This is as good as not having this many tables and fitting it to the window. So you don't understand, but the advantage is, like, if you keep your mouse here, it will give you the table name. That's the only thing. Now let me take out the tables because I don't want all these. Let me add internet sales and add related tables. And okay, so once it is done, let me arrange the tables and let me set the zoom to 75%. Okay, we're back. Now these are the different properties that are available when you right click on the data source view empty pane. The same options on the top. If you see, there is only one extra option. You can see this is add or remove objects, this is refresh, and this is the new one which we'll discuss. New name query, you know that. New name calculation, which we are going to discuss, and new relationship, which we discussed. And delete is deleting one of our object. If you click on this, it will delete. It will be enabled, and you can delete it if you don't want as part of your analysis project. And find, which we have seen, and this is zoom. Okay, so this page here, new diagram, if you see, all table diagram is default. That means all the tables that you add to the data source view will be shown in this one. If you add a new diagram and if you say only products, so once it is done, you can add or remove tables or show tables. If you click on show tables, it will show the tables that are part of all tables diagram, and you can select one or two that are related to product, and these two will be here. You understand what I mean? So all the tables will be here anyway, but if you have multiple businesses or multiple verticals, then you can split those into multiple diagrams, so that if there is any issue, then you can easily come and find out the table that you are interested in. It's just like making a group of tables, making the tables into different groups, different buckets. This is not the useful option, but if you want to, but few guys uses it who want to have a good look and feel of the data source view, and they will categorize set of tables into one bucket and set of tables into another buckets. If they have any issue in a particular table, they'll go to the bucket and they'll try to make the change over there. I'll tell you the case, where the ideal case, if you have all these tables, how can you find out? You will be scrolling like this, you will be searching for the table. So what people will do here is they'll add a diagram and they'll take reseller sales, and they'll show the tables, and they'll select all the tables that are related to the reseller sales, like dim reseller and factory reseller. So this bucket talks about reseller sales. Similarly, you can have one more diagram saying that internet sales. Okay, here they'll be showing all the internet sales related tables. So basically, generally people create these diagrams when they have multiple cubes. They'll try to add the tables that are related to one cube into one diagram. One database can have multiple cubes, so they'll have one cube related tables into one diagram, another cube related tables into another diagram, just for easy access. So that is about adding the diagram, and unfortunately I have to go and remove the tables again. This is painful. Okay, add related tables. Let me click on OK. Now let's see the different options that we have on tables. When I right click on table, you can see new name calculation. This is very important. So let's say you have a table and you need an extra column which talks about the classic, the most common. If you take an interview, the people will talk about this only. If you have an employee table here, this is the employee table, and generally people stores employee name as employee first name, middle name, and last name. You see here, first name, middle name, and last name. If you have three different columns, then it is very difficult to I mean, once you create a dimension on top of this table, you can't merge those attributes to get one full name. Instead of that, what you can do is you can edit the data source view to create a new name calculation, which will merge these three and get the employee full name. For example, full name is the name of the column. I think employee first name and middle, yeah, first name, last name, and middle name. First name plus, this is SQL syntax, plus middle name plus last name. So if I click on OK, oops, correct syntax, has, oops, didn't observe that. Okay, last name space, let me delete this and let me try this one. I think it's a plus. I forgot SQL Server and I have to go to SQL Server sessions. Okay, now you can see the full name is created with 3 columns in the table: first name, middle name, and last name. And if you try to explore the data in the sense it will show the data, that is sample data that is present in the database. And if you scroll to the right, you can see the first name plus middle name plus last name here. And here it is null because the middle name is null. When it is null plus null, it will become null, right? So that is why. So you can handle that by editing the name or calculation by right clicking on the name or calculation and click on edit, or you can delete the column. You cannot delete the other columns. You can delete only the column that you have created on the data source view. So edit the name or calculation, and is null is one function which we can use. If it is null, convert to blank kind of. And now if I try to explore the data in the table, then you can see first name, middle name, and last name coming for every user. And whenever there is no middle name, it will take blank based on the syntax I've given. So that is about the calculation. Calculation is used in many cases, like when you have this kind of scenario where you have to merge two to three columns, and another one is where you have to concatenate something to the existing column, or where you have to hard code some column. Hard code example is like new name of calculation test. I'm hard coding the value to 1, so all the rows it will show 1 at the end. Don't ask me what's the benefit of this. There may be scenario where you need to provide some hard coded value or some case statements. You can even write case statement, something like case when if the employee name is XYZ, add 2, or else add 3, or else add 4, something like that. Okay, this is some examples for hard code or merging of the columns, and you may need to calculate the profit. If you have a sales amount and if you have what is that, manufacturing cost, then you can find out the profit, right? So those kind of calculations you can make at the data source view level using the new name calculation option. And the options that we have on this column is new relationship you can set if you want, or edit the name or calculation if you want to edit the syntax that you have given or the expression that you have given for the calculation, or you can delete it, or explore data is just like showing the data. There is one change in the explore data option compared to SQL Server 2008 earlier versions to the latest version of SQL Server analysis services. That is, if you go to the Explorer, there were a lot of views here, like you can see charts, the same data in charts and pivot tables. But here now it's showing only table. So they removed the remaining options. If you get chance, try to create a project in Beats using the version 2008 or 2008 R2 and try to explore the data of a table. You can see multiple other options along with the table option when you right click and explore the data. So give it a try for that. That is one change that I have observed in the framework. Now let's see the different options that we have here. New relationship we know, and replace table. Sometimes you need to replace the table. By mistake you have added the old table that is not the correct table. I'll tell you the example here. I worked in a database where there are 10 tables created for the date and time. By everyone who joins the project, they create one date. Some guys named it as dim date, some guys with the time, some guys with the dim date time. But I was very much confused which one is the real date and time which is used by the data warehouse team. So first I've given reference to, I added this table to my analysis services and I started working on the project. Then they said this is the actual table. You have to replace the table. So in that case, you can use this option like replace the table. By mistake, I've added the other one, replace with another table. Let's say database log. For example, I'm telling you, In real time, this will not be database log to employees. So I'm telling you how can you replace. So the table is replaced with the new one, and you can still see the calculation. Now let me try to explore and see the data. What it's gonna see is last name, middle name, and first name is missing or invalid columns. Okay, the calculation whatever you have created is still with the table, but it is looking for the same. Why it is still with the table? Why don't it remove the calculation that you have created when you replace the table? Let's assume the scenario. Let this calculation is a hard-coded value, and you still want to have the hard-coded value, right? Keeping that in mind, they still continue having the calculation, and if the columns that are referenced in the calculation expression are missing, then it will throw error. Okay, in this case, what you can do is delete the column. So this is replace table with another table, and you can replace table with a new named query. What is the use of new named query when you can create a new named query on your own? Why you want to replace an existing table with the new named query? So for example, take dim promotion. I need only promotion key and English promotion name from this table. What I can do? I can create a new named query with promotion key and promotion name. Correct? You all know how to create the named queries. Instead of that, why don't you replace it with a new named query? So it will do all the job for you. Like it will take the name and it will add the table and it will select everything. So what you need to do is pretty simple. Keep only the relationships that you want by removing these columns. Okay, and select product key, promotion key and English promotion name. Now the table is same, the relationship is still there, the key column is still there. It only taken out the remaining columns and it converted the table to the named query. So can you see the advantage? If you create a named query on your own, then you have to delete the existing table and you have to create the key column and you have to give the relationship blah blah blah. Instead of that, you just simply select whatever you want. Like in this case, I just want dim customer key and it will say something dim customer key and let's say first name, middle name and last name is what I want, and I can click on OK. Now the table has been changed to the named query. So there are two options, and once it is a named query, we will see that too. Now let's see the next option that are available on the table. Replace table we have seen. Delete table is pretty known one. You can delete it and explore data. This is exploring the data, like seeing what sample data that is available in the table or the named query. If you see the options on the named query, it will remain almost the same except the extra option that is edit named query, because it's a select statement. You can go anytime and you can edit it. The same way you created it, you can edit it. For example, you added extra columns that you don't want, or you missed one column that you need. So in that case, you can go with edit named query and add the column that you're interested in. Let's say title and click on OK. So that is the edit named query option. And replace table with another named query is disabled because you can edit it and change it always, but you can rename it with another table. Let's say dim customer. I'll go here. The named query will become table now. It replaced with a table. And if you see the remaining options, it's the same: delete table from DSV and explore data. So if you see, these are the options that we have. And apart from that, you will find set logical primary key when you select any column on the named query, but you don't see that set logical primary key enabled when you do it on table, because the table structure is fixed and it is being pulled from the underlying database. If you see here, right click, you can set this as logical primary key, or you can change it, or you can select both and set this as logical primary key. So that is one extra option you will see when you use named query, and when you right click on named query, you can set, or even you can if you select both, you can delete also logical primary key. That's the only extra option that you can see compared to the table columns to the named query columns. So this is in total about the data source view. I hope I covered everything about the data source view. In next session, we can start working on the dimension designing. Thank you very much for attending this session, guys, and catch you tomorrow, same time.